going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go.
Hey, I gotta say, I feel so grateful and so blessed and just quite fortunate to be able to be in a position to provide a platform that is helpful for both new, current, and future creators and writers all across the globe. Today, I have a wonderful guest who has been so patient with me and getting this entire process squared away. So thank you again for that. Today, I have a guest who is an actor, she is an author, and she is a speaker. Uh, Man, I don't know where to begin. So let's go ahead and get going. So without further ado, I present to you the wonderful Jovanna Vidal. How are you doing today?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Osiris, I am so excited to do this with you. So I'm so happy. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you for everyone who's going to be watching us. So hope you get lots of little nuggets out of it.
I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure. Thank you. Thank you again for your patience and for everything. And I see you have your book in the back. I'm probably going to open it up with that. But before I do, how is everything going with you today with the busy schedule that you've had?
Everything feels amazing. It's Friday for me. Anybody who doesn't quite know yet, Happy Friday is a really big deal
Mm-hmm.
for me and my Fry fam community on YouTube. I always look at it as, oh my gosh, we made it to Friday, but not in the sense of like relief, but like in a sense of celebration. So happy Friday to everybody. And let's celebrate how much we've gotten done this week and how much
Mm-hmm.
we can still get done. So happy
Yes,
Friday.
indeed. Yes, happy Friday. Happy Friday. It takes a lot sometimes depending on what the job is and what the
Yes,
career calls for, or they have a family or children. I feel for them. I feel for them on that. But
it's so
well,
true.
yeah, it can get tough. But when you can make it to the end of the week, hopefully it's a good cause for celebration. So speaking of celebration, you have found a lot of success throughout your career. Some people only find it, and I guess depending on how success is defined will determine the level to it. But just from the outside looking in, being an author, being an actor, and being a speaker all come with its own challenges. And I know on a personal note, as far as being an author goes, that alone can be quite challenging to get the word out, to get people to follow you behind you and support you, to even purchase the book or somehow receive it for free. So I'll ask this because you do three different things professionally. Which one came first and how did you get into that?
Great question. Goodness gracious. First of the three you said was acting. Because I had a life before that. I was actually corporate. I went to school for international marketing. I did my marketing career for several years. When I got out of college, I was in advertising. I had a really sexy job looking at commercials, creating commercials, putting them in the Super Bowl, like red carpets, more than I've had as an actor, actually. And, it was really amazing. And
That's
then I
funny.
realized, I was like, wait, I'm behind the camera. I want to be in front of the camera. So that's how I flipped the switch completely, shocked everybody and moved, to become an actor and a dancer in Miami. So I did, oh my gosh, I did like big openings and weddings. And so I've done so many iterations in my life that actor is probably like the fourth or fifth thing. And, everything kind of cycled after that. So it's been a really cool ride because I am where I am because of all the shifts and pivots I've made in the past. And it's just
Yeah.
been really exciting to now be able to write a book for teens to help them Especially because I always thought my first book would be like a memoir of like my Hollywood years, and I would
Yeah.
be the household name that people would want to read about me. And it didn't quite happen that
That
way.
is
So
that's funny.
I'm blessed that I'm able to give back in this manner. It's way more gratifying than a memoir about me because, hey.
I mean, maybe that's still up up for discussion down the road. Still very young. Everyone's very young in their career, even if they've been in it for a long period of time. And I think that's commendable. So a lot of people, that's part of the reason actually, in fact, why I started the show was because once people graduate high school, assuming that they graduate high school, oftentimes they head into college, into a career field or some sort of a major that they decide to major in, doing it for reasons that aren't particularly their own reasons. Maybe their parents suggested, hey, go to college, get a real job, whatever that is defined as. Or, hey, you know what? There's some security here. Go be a lawyer or go be a doctor, go be somebody through college. But in your heart, you want to do something else. And so some people find some difficulty in that. And once they go into that particular school or they do that, then they lose themselves and whatever that they wanted to do before completely goes away. So good on you for whether you lost it or you always knew you had it, you're very much embedded in the business and working on Super Bowl commercials. What was that like?
I know. Well, again, that was another lifetime ago. And you touched on so many different amazing components, Osiris. I just commend you on how beautifully you articulated that, because that was very much the case for me, right? I went to school, I was expected to, I had no choice. My parents weren't going to give me a choice. Acting was definitely not one of them. And they were like,
Yeah.
oh, heck to the no. You are going to have something stable, secure that gives you benefits, right? And I did what my mom and dad wanted me to. And then I realized like, this is my life. And thank you for giving me life, mom and dad, but this is my journey to walk. And if I continue to walk it in corporate America, no knock on corporate America, there's something for everybody. But for me, it wasn't the right path. And so
Right.
I did make that very difficult decision to pivot and find what I wanted to be and become. And so to go from creating commercials for MasterCard. I worked at MasterCard during the Priceless campaign, totally dated myself, but hey, it was such a glorious experience. It was such an incredible honor to have that under my belt. I managed coming out of college at the age of 22, um, $330 million for the MasterCard working media budget. CEOs were coming to me to talk about millions and millions of dollars. And that just put so much stress on a young 22, 23, 24 Latina in a
Mm-hmm.
predominantly very white corporation. And it
Mm-hmm.
just made me step into who I knew I could be. So it was very pressure filled. But to have the opportunity to do it and to be able to put our commercials in the Oscars and in the Super Bowls of the world and to have those connections with the outlets, with the networks, with the media, it was just utterly incredible. And everybody
Yeah.
there was like a family, right?
Yeah.
I loved the experience. I just didn't love the job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate too. Well, I won't say unfortunate is what the unfortunate piece is that for people, they do remain in that unfortunate because it pays really good. And it
Yeah.
takes a lot for sure, right? It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of gut and wit and determination to bet on yourself and say, I'm, uh, I really want to be on the opposite side. I really want to be what I'm projecting, what I'm pushing out for others. I want to do it for myself and to take a chance on yourself, especially when you look at what's around, right? This is not to bring like any racial disparity or anything like that, because that's not my flavor. I grew up around
I
a
love that.
diverse crowd, but but what the reality is it's not the percentage of us as minorities is not prevalent in exponential numbers. And so, like looking at yourself, right? Latina. We see. I don't know who are some people I can think of that are actresses. Like Eva Longoria, Eva Mendes, Selena Gomez, um, Jovanna Vidal, we got the four of you, right? Have you faced any challenges in that regard? That has been, I guess, difficult for you to progress forward, or well, what was that? How has that been for you?
Oh, Cyrus, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. We're like a few minutes into our interview and into our conversation, and you've given me like full body goosebumps. Your questions are just out of this world amazing. And I just thank you. I thank you for
Thank
having
you.
you opposite me today because you're giving me an opportunity to speak to the things that, are our everyday, footsteps, right? Like, yes, we have challenges. We all do, right? We all do.
Right.
We don't know what anybody else's challenges are, but I certainly know mine. As a Latina coming into the LA market, I moved to Miami first, then to LA. Um, I so anticipated it to be an easier pop into the market, right? I had experience in Miami. I was a Dominican York. I'm Dominican. My
Yeah, yeah.
family from the islands. And I just thought I brought something different. At the time, J-Lo was up and coming in, she's
Hmm.
Puerto Rican. So I just thought it would be like, plop, I'm in LA. I'm coasting. I'm good. I am gonna like launch and make a quick splash. It was so not that. It was such a challenge, especially because of my Dominican heritage, which was really interesting to me because you go to New York and everyone's Dominican, right? There's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many Dominicans. It's a little Dominican land. And then I come to LA and it's predominantly Mexican. And the minute I
Hmm.
opened my mouth, they're like, "Oh, girl, you're not Mexican." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that mattered." Like,
Hmm.
I thought like Latina is Latina. We're lots of Latinas. There's,
Yeah, we unite, right?
dozens of countries, Latin American countries. We're all different. And so I initially, as the whatever age I was when I first came to LA, I was bent on trying to serve up my Dominicananess, right? And be
Yeah.
like, this is a different flavor. I love that word. This is a different flavor. Like, accept a different flavor. But as you know, TV, advertising, consumer behavior,
Hmm.
you know, dollars spent at stores really dictate the decisions made in corporations. So
Right.
Dominicans are such a small number in this country that obviously the Mexican consumption is of greater interest to marketers and advertisers. So it was extremely challenging. Like, I remember my first audition, Spanish speaking audition. They're like, "Do you speak Spanish?" I'm like, "Yes, sí, hablo español fluidamente." And I
Hmm.
spoke my
Yeah.
Spanish and they started laughing at me. And I was like, "Oh, that's not the response I was expecting,
Yeah.
but I can laugh. Let's laugh." And
Hmm.
it went horribly, my audition, because I don't have a neutral Spanish accent, which is a very big deal in the Mexican TV land. So that was just one of the many challenges I had. The way I look, my hair's very curly, and on TV, it's difficult to like frame it. And so
Hmm.
at the time, they're like, "You have to straighten your hair. Your hair is too light. You have to darken your hair. You're too this, you're too that, you're not enough that." So yes, as far as physicalities, there were a lot of challenges. And I was so like determined to be like, well, this is me. I want to be me. I want you to receive a different me.
Right.
And it was such an uphill battle that looking back, I was like, okay, I'll straighten my hair. I'll darken it.
Hmm.
Because you have to also be what the advertiser needs, right? They're the ones
Sure.
creating the commercials. At the time, I was doing mostly commercials. So it was a very difficult, like, reality check for me.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
things have changed, right? This was 16 years ago when I first came. Things have changed. They're a
For
little
sure.
bit better now. But I do have that hesitation. I'm like, they want neutral Spanish. I know I can't give it. I'm not going to waste anyone's time. Like, so it's interesting how now it's like I have other things on the burners that I can
Yeah.
do. And it's okay. One day my Dominicananess will be like, ah.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that's another thing that I was referencing, right? Thinking about when it speaks to the wit and determination of the person. Well, you in particular, when you endure such challenging pieces and stuff, for some that might not seem challenging. Like, oh, well, yeah, just, just speaking in a certain way. But then there's a certain piece of morality that comes in. Are you wanting to confined to a certain way that you might not be the same person you were coming in as you are going out of it? Who are you now? And I think that's a question that people ask themselves when it comes to career choices, especially in Hollywood, where a lot of roles are dictated depending on who you know and what you're willing to do for that role. And I think that at the end of the day, it should be about the art. But it's also a business, and you very much are understanding of that. But you've been in the business, for I'll say a little bit of time. You've been in for a little bit of time, not to date you, but you have you have a wealth of experience. So aside from the challenges, how has it been for you now? What are some projects that you feel? I'm sure you're proud of all your projects, but what are some more that stick out to you that, oh, I love that project that I worked on. I love this. I love how I told this story here. What are some of those?
Again, you put it beautifully and just perfectly. You touched on some key points, which is you do have to consider who you are and how you want to show up in this world and in this business. And yes, there are challenges. The good thing is that you decide as an actor what you're willing to do and not do. And early on, I made some very definitive lines. Like I drew them not in the sand, they were like in the concrete. I was like, I'm not going to do this. I am not going to do this. And lo and behold, early on in my career, exactly what I didn't want was coming to me because that's what I was focusing on. I was focusing
Hmm.
on what I wouldn't do because as a female, as a woman, as hopefully an example to young women and young girls, I knew very early on that I wanted to stay in that realm, right? It was
Yep.
important to me and for me to be very careful with what I said yes to. And so those were big challenges when you're struggling in a new city. How are you going to pay rent and acting classes and headshots? And it's a really expensive career acting. It may
Hmm.
not seem like it, but especially when I first moved here where, you know, you couldn't quite do it online as much, right? It was very much physical headshots and physical purchases and that you were expected to invest in. So, you do have to be clear on what you want and how you're going to show up. And I think that was one of my greatest, um, convictions, right?
Hmm.
It was a decision I made and I held it dear to my heart and I held to it. And what that did for me at the time was that in my waiting for those opportunities that I was willing to say yes to, in the waiting, I learned a lot about myself. And then when those opportunities came, they were perfectly aligned. They
Yeah.
were just amazing. And one of them that I'll speak to that speaks um to how important it is for me to have a message in what I do is God and Salsa. It's on Amazon and all the other streaming platforms, but that role I was the lead in, and I only say that because I didn't think I was the lead. I thought it was going to be about the young kid that I was going to be mentoring. I was a therapist in it, and I helped this teen um go through his challenges and help him overcome suicide
Hmm.
ideation. And to have that message in the world,
Hmm.
embedded with salsa dancing and fun and like having that like juxtapositions where I believe it was something that could help teens who may be
Hmm.
struggling. That project for me made such a big difference, especially because it aligned with when I was writing my book and when my book
Yeah.
was launched. So it was interesting how I was like in this like teen um motivational help support realm, thanks to
Hmm.
this role being in Darman, which now has over 60 billion views worldwide,
That
which is
is.
how I got my audience. So it's like, it's all full circle. And it's like, when you hold out knowing that your time will come, when it does, it's infinitely better than you could have ever imagined.
Hmm.
That to me speaks to, the patience and the endurance, the grit and the resolve to do what you know in your heart, even when things don't look like they're working out for you, right?
For
Because
sure.
your message in your heart, right? Not in anybody else's. So
Yeah. Wow. No, I'm getting the chills thinking about that. Is powerful stuff. That's powerful. So before I was doing this, right? So for those who are not aware, I spent a good portion of my time as a mental health paraprofessional and a substance abuse counselor within the Air Force for almost 10 years. And those stories about talking to people who have those suicidal ideations, not to get really deep, don't worry, it's not going to end on a heavy note, but it's so, it's so poignant to be able to tell stories that are stories that can also be something of healing. 60 billion worldwide, that those numbers you can't even create mentally. I don't think at any point in time when you were on set, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone who was on that set at the time is going to think, yeah, this is going to get 60 billion views, right? Worldwide. Or was it 60 million? Did I hear?
no, you heard correctly. It's 60
Okay.
billion on
Yeah.
Darman, and that's over a series of over 1,000 videos. So it wasn't just one production that got the 60
Oh, okay.
billion.
Thank you for the
The
correction.
Darman channel. But yes, regardless, I mean, you look at YouTube channels, I have one, and for me to think of 60 billion views, I mean, I'm still trying to get to the millions, right? So it is a huge, huge, vast amount of people and eyeballs and hearts and souls that you can connect with. And so, yes, those two projects were life and career altering for me
Yeah.
on so many different levels. And I love what I said. I'm sorry. I love what you said.
Oh,
I love what you said about your role. And I want to thank you, was what I was trying to say,
oh
for
yeah.
your service. And I want to thank you for your service because, you did something that so many of us can't even fathom doing, and it's going into the military. And then on top of that, to be a mental health counselor and advocate and supporter within that organization, that institution. It's just mind boggling what your experiences have shown you. And we thank you for your service and your dedication to this country and we admire and love you all so very much. And we thank you and just
Of course.
truly thank you for your service.
That's a pleasure. It's well said. I appreciate the kind words and the generosity shown. And I think it's commendable when anyone's like ourselves do things that isn't specifically for ourselves. You know, we service people with our gifts and being able to tell stories that can be both entertaining and healing simultaneously. And with just with how you've been able to move through life and get to where you are at this moment, right? Sitting there with your book in the back and the cherry blossom flowers. It looks like they're cherry blossom in the back with the yellow dress and feel at peace. You know, there's a lot of confidence that comes with presenting yourself in a manner that is specific to who you are as a person, right? You're not pretending to be anybody. You're not in a random studio set. Not that that's a problem, but you are you. You're being authentic to yourself. And that's the message that I think many miss the mark on is they may feel that they can't be who they are. They need to be someone else. And so I want to speak right about another piece of you, which is that book behind you. And it looks like it says, is it Teen Lovely No More? Or
Teen anxiety no more.
okay, it's a little blurry in my spot. That's
Okay,
my
teen
camera.
anxiety. Yeah, I wanted to
Yes.
minimize the anxiety because that's what I do.
Oh.
And no more anxiety around me because I've been there. It's not fun. And because I lived in it for so many years and decades, my message and my wish and my mission now is to help teens not live with it for as
Yeah.
long as I did. There's a better way. And all I do is give all my tips, tricks, solutions, techniques, ideas, mistakes, because I've made so many.
Yeah.
So that maybe you can find a different way, right? And you don't need to go the struggle route because I struggled a lot in my teens and my 20s. I struggled so much. I too myself in the book speak to things that are difficult topics, right?
Hmm.
Um Bullying, cyberbullying, depression. I do talk about suicide in it because it's a
Hmm.
real reality in our country, in our
Yep.
schools. And I was about 98% done with it at the editors, 98% edited, ready to go to print. You know this process better than anybody.
Hmm.
And then there was another school shooting. And I was like, hold the presses.
Yeah.
I am called in my heart to put a chapter about school shootings in my book.
Yeah.
And so it's just such a reality that so many of us in our generation didn't have to contend with. And the fact
Hmm.
that that's something that is happening unacceptably so frequently is why I needed to address it in my book. So
Yeah.
and it is anxiety provoking. You never know, right? When you go into a
Hmm.
school, when now go into a building, when you go into like so many public spaces that is like become such a frequent occurrence and it's unacceptable in this country. And
Yeah.
so I want to speak to that as well on a big stage, on bigger stages, on bigger
Hmm.
platforms. And thank you for giving me this opportunity because those are the things that will move the needle. And but we have to have the difficult discussions. So no, it's not about getting gloomy and dark. It's about elevating the light so that
Yep.
we can quelch the darkness.
For
And
sure.
that's where my message resides.
Yeah, I could tell you're a speaker too. That was really, really good. Very, very good. Well said. I think that the school shooting, so say I have three children, right? And I have a 10-year-old. Right now, my 3-year-old twins, they are not in a school where they have, well, I hope not. But I mean, I don't hope there's any school shootings, but I have never heard of a school shooting in a school for just where 3-year-olds go. But for my oldest one, my 10-year-old, that's where the anxiety it kicks in. And I don't have a history of anxiety. I mean, I guess now I got diagnosed with PTSD like a couple months ago. I'm laughing about it. I know it's not a funny manner, but I laugh sometimes when I'm nervous, and that's one of those things. But I will say that the inclusion of having that book is I'm going to have to, I'm going to talk to you once this is over and see if I can get a signed copy or something for you. Because that book is something that I would love to have in my household and promote it to other people. Not that you need me to promote it, but I would definitely like to spread the joy.
I need it because I want it to reach as many households with kids as possible. So it's a need because there's a need in the world for it. And I
Yeah.
do feel like it needs to be in more schools because I come at it from, it's like my love letter, my big sister love letter
Mhm.
to tweens and teens. And although it's written for teens, because that's the audience I draw from my show, I will tell you that some of the parents who have reached out to me have read it with their 7 and 8 year olds. And
Mhm.
they obviously tailored it based on what they were comfortable as parents sharing with their own child. But the speak in it is very much like the way I'm talking right now, like very like, hey, I'm here, what's up, right? Like I get to
Mhm.
their level because that's the only way that I can build that connection with my
Yeah.
teens. And I love my teens, and it's to have parents reach out to me and be like, my 7 year old was being bullied, and now it's a non-issue.
Mhm.
I'm like, praise the
Yeah.
Lord.
That's
And not
that's
to
so
get
beautiful.
religious, but praise the Lord because
Yeah.
I believe in God. I believe we all need to believe in something bigger and greater. And
Mhm.
whoever that might be for all of us, praise our
Yes.
creator for helping that one child and the
Mhm.
second child and the third and fourth and hopefully worldwide. So again, we can lower the darkness that our kids are exposed to and experience on a day to day as a
Hmm.
result of our adult decisions, right?
Hmm.
They didn't choose the world that we've created for them,
Right.
but now we have to change it so that they know what it can look like. And
Yeah.
that's the optimism I want to pass on to our kids and
Yeah.
beyond.
That's so I love it. I love it. And this is the part that's intriguing to me when it comes to speaking to actors, because actors, and I think it's a little different than well, maybe it's more or less kind of similar to an author, but no, I would say it's a little different for authors, depending on the genre that they're writing and the story that they create. It's their own world. But as the actor or actresses, seeing you all portray these different characters. But when you peel all of that off and peel the layers, we get to actually see the person behind it. What do they represent? What's their message to the world behind all the roles that they are fortunate enough to be able to acquire? And when I have someone on such as yourself, Jovanna, and being able to hear such a powerful message, it goes to show for people who think it's only about one thing, it's really never just about one thing. It's oftentimes about a multitude of other things that can be serviced through that one thing that you are good at. And I think with you, you should, you shouldn't have to do anything, right? But like, I think it would be a wonderful idea to keep writing. Like, I don't know if you have any more stories in you that's similar to that or any more messages. I would understand, right, that you need to be called upon or drawn towards something powerful that you feel like would warrant to write a book about. But are there any other projects that you're working on in form of a book that you have conceptualized right now, or what's going on there?
I love that question. Thank you, Osiris. Yes, I have many in me still to write. Um, it's writing this first book was such a blessing, and to have it become a number one bestseller was just gravy on top. This
Hmm.
book for me was a download. If I was to share the process, and you teared me up, Osiris, thank you for
Oh,
your beautiful words. They just touched my heart.
yeah.
Um, yes, this book was a download. It was a download, and I started writing it in May of 22, and it was published in August of 22. Published.
Wow.
I spent that summer writing and editing it with the most amazing editor. Um, and it was published in that short amount of time. And I could only have
Wow.
done that because it was a download. It came to me and I couldn't stop writing. And I was like, what is
Yeah.
going on? I mean, I spent
Hmm.
hours and hours writing a day. And
Hmm.
as a first book, I'd never had that experience before, right? I've
Hmm.
read scripts for hours and hours a day, but never written anything other than journal entries. So for
Hmm.
me, it was absolutely. And I, at that point, decided that yes, I want this to be a series. I want
Yeah.
this, and I've worked on I'm 10 chapters into my second book. However, that one hasn't been downloading as easily.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
one has been a little bit longer in the make just because of the bandwidth and but my second book is called College Anxiety No More. Um
Ah.
because it's the sequence when the teen decides or doesn't to go to college, what that, brings up for them in that
Mhm.
process. And then there's others planned thereafter. So yes, I
Yeah.
do have a series in mind. And then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to highlight anxiety. Why did I go with teen anxiety no more? Like I should
Yeah.
say more teen love, which is the name of my site, more light
Yeah.
for teens, because I'm like, why am I highlighting anxiety? So I'm having this whole like branding question mark, like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm calling anxiety into the universe. No, I don't want to do that. So we'll see what I
Mhm.
go with. But
For sure.
initially it was a series in mind that I
Okay.
want.
Will the color remain yellow as well? Are you gonna go stick with that mark or?
Great question. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
love that you're making me think about it because I do want to finish that book. And I think as soon as my summit launches in the fall, I think finishing the second book is very top on my list because
Yeah.
I loved the process. I love the process. It's not
Hmm.
easy, but it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there are days where, like, the words are a little more difficult on the page, as you well know, and you speak to plenty of
Hmm.
authors who have shared that reality. But it's just such a gratifying experience
Yeah.
to put it out and to know that somebody can read and get something from your words and your
Hmm.
guidance, whatever kind of book it is, whether even if it's, fiction, right? To just get lost in the fictitious world of a character, like how beautiful and incredible and precious is that? So books to me have always been an incredible gift and outlet. So
Yes.
you need to keep them alive.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The way that the world turns, you just never know what is going to pique someone's interest. But as we as writers continue to flesh out powerful stories and books, the hard copy version or digitally, however it needs to be consumed, it certainly needs to continue. Yeah, I think we're in an interesting phase right now where most people's attention, especially the teenage demographics' attention, tends to be on apps like TikTok or anything in a short format of entertainment where they can scroll through and watch, excuse me, and watch whatever they want to watch and not really be embedded into a book. And I think that there has to be, or someone gets like a creative way to like draw their attention. And I think honestly, when it comes to books, it really just depends on the person who that individual is interested in. And I think that all comes back to branding and who the people like. Like, for example, I don't know, use LeBron James as an example. If he wrote a book about love and basketball, right? Like Kobe Bryant did something similar, people would buy it just because it's LeBron. And I think that depending on who's writing the book, um, is going to really determine the interest in which people are going to go and they purchase it. Because right now there are book lovers everywhere, but I don't have the exact percentage, but it has decreased over time. So I just think it just needs to continue. And if there's a story worth telling, just to share that story, and you continuing to work on your projects, and you have the summit coming up. And really quick, before I conclude this in the next few minutes, if you want, can you please talk a little bit about the summit and when it's going to be? I'd like to share that beforehand and before the date comes up, so everyone could be abreast of what's going on there.
Oh, thank you, Osiris. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited. As you know, I love my teens. And at the same time, we know that kids become tweens that become teens. And as many parents as I speak to, they're like, I don't care how old my kid is. He's still my kid, right?
Right.
What I decided to do so that I could continue to hopefully, if I'm so blessed to be, granted this permission to be that bridge between teens and their parents, right? In the teenage years, oftentimes many teens begin to disconnect or pull
Hmm.
back or not involve their parents as much. And I am a huge fan and proponent that is especially when that connection needs to be fortified and not let them pull
Hmm.
back as much as they would want to. So
Right.
I wanted to create a summit for parents. And originally it was going to be for parents of teens. And then I took a moment and I was like, wait a minute. I can zoom out and open the aperture of this
Hmm.
summit so that I can help the Osirises who are with their 10-year-old, beginning to
Hmm.
go into certain grade levels, that certain things are beginning to be discussed or presented, or and that pivotal age, right?
Hmm.
Where it's like, I need to make sure that whatever they hear from me, right? Because it's that sensitive and delicate. And so I decided to call it Parenting for Confident Kids Summit. So that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when we give and gift our kids the confidence, the resilience, the desire to show up in the world exactly as they want to start becoming, right? Then it fortifies and it strengthens the entire next generation. And
Yeah.
they are very much our future. And so that's where I'm leaning into. And it's just been a gift speaking to the experts who are coming on. So 20 to 25 experts still in the deciding phases, but just all the different facets of parenting,
Yeah.
right? And all the different like questions that come up. And
Hmm.
it's just the thrill of a lifetime, as challenging as it may be.
Hmm.
I tend to just jump into the deep end and then I'm like, but then in the end, I know the result will be utterly gratifying and
Absolutely.
really helping. So that's the intention behind this summit.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Is this something that is this going to be something that's streamed, or is it only you have to be there in person for it, or will
Thank
there be
you.
any videos behind it?
Thank you. It's pre-recorded.
Okay.
So it is free to watch. I want as many parents to have access to this. So it is that summit format where you can watch for free for a week, or however many days. It's a sequence of events, right? And there's about 5 to 6 interviews every day for free. And if you so choose to purchase the replay so that you can go back and listen to the different, interviews because your child isn't college age
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
But the speaker I am having talking about preparing for college is out of this world, and
Hmm.
how she's now working with middle schoolers so that
Hmm.
they have a plan, so that they're not surprised in high
Yeah.
school of the requirements should they choose to go to college. So it's fascinating to me how, dealing with punishment at the young child age
Hmm.
obviously is a progression when they get to become teens. So I have another incredible speaker who speaks to that. So I'm just so excited and I'm getting chills and absolute excitement for what hopefully this summit can do for parents. So
Yeah.
thank you
Oh,
for
this is going to
asking.
be, it's powerful.
Thank you.
Of course. No, that's really, really, really good. And um, sometimes I like to think of like crazy words of the day or anything of that nature, but I think overall, you seem to represent hope and something of such power for people, but particularly for teenagers. I think you should really, really look look into your soul and ask yourself whatever it is. I don't know, everyone's going through something, but I think it should really be a question of, man, like, what should I continue to do in 20 years? And I think the answer is quite clearly this: something that involves helping out teenagers. You have a calling. That speaker side of you seems to blend really well with your books. I know as an actor, you still get your roles and everything like that, but I'm sure there will be even more opportunities that's going to come around where you could do what you're doing for your books in a film if you haven't done so already, or if you're going to, well, I know you've done it already, but to continue to do it. But yeah, you seem to represent hope, and I'm all for it. Thank you so much for your words and for coming on today. This got deep really quick, but it was a powerful episode. Before I let you go, you have any closing remarks?
Thank you for your words. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for bringing information and education and different sorts of personalities to your viewers who watch you, and your incredible questions that really make us on the receiving end really just take note of the beautiful space and place that it comes from. And so I
Hmm.
want to thank you for creating this community that follows you, because it's exactly the questions that you asked that I think people need to hear. And so
Hmm.
for you to have that instinct, that is something that not everybody has. So I want to commend you. I want to thank you and your listeners and your viewers, and for going into those spaces, right? That so many of us are perhaps afraid, but we need not be afraid, because when you shine a light into those dark spaces, that's when you get a resolution and an answer and a solution. And I think we both are on that train of hope. So
Hmm.
thank you, Osiris, for what you do. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for being here and for seeking something more. Because at the end of the day, when we seek more, we get more. And it's not
Absolutely.
from a selfish standpoint, it's from we deserve more and to give more and to be and show up as more in this world. So thank you for providing us that opportunity and that outlet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I felt that one. I don't even want to add anything else to that. I'm going to end the episode on that note right there. So, hey, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into today's episode. I'll be sure to link where you can purchase her book at, as well as her website, and any additional information that she provides me. I'll make sure I'll include it in the description of this episode. If you're listening to this on audio, just please don't do it while you're driving. Just park or something and make sure you check out the description so you can learn a little bit more about Jovanna Vidal. And without any further ado, that's it. That's all I got. I'm sorry. You all take care. I'll catch you next time.